Welcome to the Shaw Consulting Social Housing Technology podcast, and this is our final AI Explainer podcast. In this episode, we'll be looking at how providers are already using AI to deliver better services, reduce costs and support their teams, and where the real value for tenants is on the ground. I'm Stuart, and I'm joined today, as always, by Shaw Consulting MD, Chris Shaw. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Stuart.
Okay, Chris, let's start with the front line. How is AI helping social housing providers improve customer service? And what kind of outcomes are we seeing?
So the front line is probably where the most visible change is happening. The primary way AI is helping is by providing, 24/7 availability and there's instantaneous answers. So if we think about intelligent chatbots and virtual agents, it's no longer just about directing a tenant to an FAQ page. The modern AI-powered chatbots can handle a huge volume of common queries autonomously. Things like reporting a simple repair, checking on the status of an existing request, or finding out about rent payment options. They can often complete the initial triage and booking process without a human ever getting involved. The next bit is around the outcomes. So we're seeing providers reduce the number of calls that go to a human agent by, 30 to 50% for simple inquiries. And this means lower operational costs and crucially, a better tenant experience because they get an instant resolution. So for staff, that means they're freed up to focus on those more complex, sensitive, or urgent issues that generally need that human touch and empathy.
Okay, so beyond chatbots, how are LLMs or large language models such as ChatGPT being used to support human agents and back office staff with day-to-day tasks?
So this is where that real efficiency gain is starting to appear. LLMs are acting as an incredibly powerful AI assistant for staff themselves. So, a few examples here, drafting and summarizing. So, a housing officer, dealing with a long list of complaint emails or detailed case notes, it's time consuming. And this is where an LLM can instantly summarize those long case histories before a meeting. It can help draft a professional response, which is compliant to, the tenant's inquiry. And it can do that in seconds. And that then, from a human agent point of view, they can then just look at that, they can review it or they can read through it before a meeting. And that's going to save them a significant amount of time. The next is around that knowledge-based navigation. So we know that, housing regulations and internal policies are, always complex, they're changing on a regular basis to keep up with the changes in regulation. So this is where LLMs can be trained on those providers' internal documents and regulations to instantly find and present the exact policy paragraph to a caseworker who needs it, rather than them spending 10 minutes digging around through documents. So that leads to faster, more accurate service and, ensures, better compliance. And then, the next one is around, translation and accessibility. So LLMs can provide instant, accurate translations of incoming and outgoing communications, significantly improving service accessibility for those tenants whose, first language isn't English.
So turning now to the workforce out and about, how can AI tools support field staff such as repairs operatives or housing officers? How can it support them in real time?
Yeah, so for field staff, the goal is to make their time on site as efficient and as effective as possible. And AI provides, crucial context and predictive insights before they even knock on the door. So if you think about from a dynamic scheduling and route optimization process, the AI tools can instantly look at days worth of repair jobs, factor in priority, location, and the operative's specific skill set and build that most efficient route. And this reduces travel time and fuel costs, meaning jobs get done on the day a lot quicker. And we know the systems are out there already. And there's different repairs, scheduling solutions. Some are really advanced and are using this technology. Others are starting to be built out to use that type of technology. And the next area is those first-time fix supports. So, before the operative arrives for a repair, AI can analyze tenants' reported issues alongside the property's repair history. And even, the standard fault pattern can be, shown for a particular appliance or housing type. And that can, really help to flag up the most likely causes and suggest the necessary parts or tools to bring. Again, then dramatically increasing the chances of that first time fix. And then, once the operative or the housing officers on site and maybe they're interacting with the resident, instead of having to either type things into the computer or tablet or smartphone whilst you're speaking to the resident or even after the interaction that you have with them, some organizations are starting to use now simple voice commands to input information into the forms that they're filling out. That can help populate job notes, capture that evidence, capturing photos as well, and using photo recognition is all helping to remove a lot of that tedious manual paperwork after every visit.
So AI is finding its way into every aspect of day-to-day roles, from what you're saying, Chris.
Yeah, it can definitely help to support organizations and people and frontline and center, definitely.
Okay, so it can also support decision making. So how are housing associations using it to analyze data, improve business planning, or meet regulatory requirements?
So this is where it moves us firmly into that strategic value, using AI to look across the entire data landscape to find patterns humans would miss. Many organizations are saying they want to move from being a reactive organization to be providing a predictive service. One area is around predictive maintenance. So instead of running on a calendar-based schedule, AI can analyze sensor data, repair logs, and property age to predict which assets are most likely to fail, for instance, like a boiler or a roof. And this allows associations to switch from a costly reactive repairs model to, that proactive planned maintenance, which is then going to save money and, prevent that tenant inconvenience of, things breaking. The next area is around income management arrears. So, we know there's some systems out there that are helping you to predict your arrears patterns. And some of these are using these AI algorithms to analyze tenant circumstances, payment history, and external factors to help identify which tenants are most likely to fall into arrears. And so, as we all know, it's not about chasing people. It's about that early intervention and allowing the income management team to offer that targeted support before a problem becomes a crisis. Next area is around compliance and risk. So AI can help you monitor those large data sets and look for those anomalies that indicate a potential regulatory non-compliance, such as a missed safety check or inconsistencies in record keeping. And this can help to ensure providers meet their stringent responsibilities.
So, Chris, lots of practical examples there, but probably not every social housing provider is at that stage yet, which AI is being used right the way across the board. So, here's a final question for you. What advice would you give to a social housing provider that wants to start small and explore AI without taking on too much risk in the first instance?
You're absolutely right, Stuart. You don't have to jump into the deep end. You can start small. You can focus on solving one specific pain point. You can measure the results. So what we'd recommend to most organizations is, identify that single high volume pain point. Don't try to roll out AI across the whole organization. Instead pick that single process that is currently clogging up staff time. For example, how can we automate the process of tenants checking their rent balance? Pilot a foundational tool, so implement a basic AI-powered assistant for that one task. Use it as a learning exercise. It's a low risk because it doesn't work perfectly. The human team can still step in, but you get invaluable data on, that usage and performance. Focus on that data cleanliness. AI is, as we've said many times before, it's only as good as the data you feed it. So before you even buy a tool, spend time ensuring your core data, tenant records, property details, repair histories are accurate and well structured. Good data is the foundation of any successful AI initiative. And then involve your staff, crucially, position AI as that tool to help staff. It's not about replacing them. It's about involving their frontline teams in the design and testing, and their buy-in will make or break the project. And, and at the end of the day, they know best where the true time sinks are, for want of a better word, where their time is being spent a lot of the time.
Excellent, Chris. Well, thanks very much for those insights today. And that wraps up our mini series on AI in social housing, though I do suspect, Chris, we will be talking about this subject again in a future podcast. So if you'd like to explore how this technology could support your organization, please get in touch with Chris via the Shaw Consulting website or on LinkedIn. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again on another Shaw Consulting podcast. Thank you.